mechanics and then look at that. Does that sound like a good path? Anything else you wanted to
That
focus on?
sounds like a good route. Yeah. I mean, I've played quite a lot of games like in the last probably like year and a half, like on and off. But like I've stayed right around the MMR that I am now for like way too many games. So I need to like there's some sort of plateau that I'm at where it's like and I'm watching some content on YouTube and I do feel like I know a little bit more than I'm able to execute.
And is that MMR at the top of the document still active? About
it's around there. It's probably a bit lower right now, actually. Yeah, that's like it goes between like 3.8 and 4.1, I'd say.
Okay.
So anytime I meet anyone who's like 4,200 or more, I'll probably lose.
Okay, cool.
Put it like, yeah.
Let's get a replay up on screen so I can just get a glimpse of your play while we talk mechanics, and then maybe we hop in a game and actually practice some mechanics. Kind of depends. So hop into chat channel Pig on the EU server. If you just click in your chat box, go /join Pig. P-I-G.
Hang on. Inside
in Battle.net, yeah.
In Battle.net.
So there should be a chat box just in the bottom middle of your screen.
Yeah.
If you've made a terrible mistake, you may be
join channel name, right? Join something.
Just, /join space pig.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work, you can try /join space pig as well.
Yeah, there you are.
There we go. Perfect.
I think. Right.
Do you have the general chat open in StarCraft?
I'm not sure what that means.
So basically, there's a channel that it automatically joins.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah. So my biggest advice to people is /leave space general. I don't know what it's like on the EU server, but on NA it's just like Trump, MAGA.
Yeah,
and it's just.
I don't really pay attention to it. I see like German people writing random shit. All the time, but yeah.
You know, it's like you didn't think there were many, I don't know, white supremacists left in the world, but they're hanging out in the general chat in fucking Battle.net.
That's where they are.
It's I don't know. It's just you just get weirdos there. So I'm always a big fan of like leave that. Join some cool channels like Adopt a Noob if you're a brand new player. Obviously not for you, but for other people. Join a clan channel or a different community.
Join something, yeah. Okay,
something
I'll look into it.
Makes you want to talk to other humans in the game rather than that cesspool. So awesome. So let's just grab a replay. It doesn't really matter if this is one you wanted to look at or not. Let's just throw a replay up. Replay watch with others.
All right. Okay. I played some 1v1s with my friend earlier, and I've got one that's quite funny. Let's see.
Okay. Cool.
I think this one. Hang on, let me see. Right, why isn't it? Can I? Oh God. Trying to.
So if you just go replay, there's a watch with others.
Yeah, watch with others. Okay, I'll do that.
Awesome. So once we're in there, I need you to right-click me in the lobby and go promote to lobby host.
Yep.
So this is a 2v2. Okay.
Oh, is it? Yeah, that's what. Okay, hang on.
Can we watch a 1v1 instead? Actually.
Yeah. Let's do a 1v1.
Cool.
Yeah. Quit. Yeah, there we go. Let me just see here.
Yeah, whenever you click on a replay, on the right-hand side, you should be able to see the players that were in the replay as well as the time, the duration that the replay went for. Can you see both of those?
Yeah, I see those things. It's just a lot of games. Let's see. Acropolis. This is the one. Watch with others.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And
right
you
promote to
lobby host. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right. So we're going to look at this, but we're not really paying too much attention to it. So this is just for me to get a look at what you're doing. But can we go through those mechanics questions that I pasted just there, and let's just kind of answer those first. So to start, let's go straight to this one.
Yeah.
So control groups. So you see where I'm writing this. We're going to just start a little numbered list. So we've got those 10 control groups, and can we just write down what you normally put on those in the document?
Okay. Where are you now? Am I tabbing?
Yeah, do you have two
I only
monitors?
have one
You've only
screen.
got
I don't
one?
have
That's
two.
fine.
No,
You don't
I've
need to
only
look
got
at the
one.
game. Doesn't matter. It's always more important for
Okay,
you to look
yeah.
at the document. When we're
Yeah.
talking about specific things, or I'm like, look at this part of the replay,
Yeah.
obviously look at that. But otherwise, most of the time we're talking about theory or between games, always have that document up on your screen. And, and just be checking it out. So notice control groups.
Okay, yeah. So
And are you using standard layout? Is that what your hotkeys are? Is it grid? Is it custom?
I think I've at some point changed something for my camera location. Like I'm using F1, F2, F3, F4 for camera locations, and usually F2 is like select all army, right? So I've changed that, but I haven't changed much. Other than that, I think that's the only. Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, you're back. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sounds good, yeah?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, just we had apparently there's some white noise. I
Okay.
don't think so. It's not from it's
me?
not from you, 100%.
Okay.
Let me just very quickly double check. Double check. Okay. No, it should be okay. Yeah. That's there is some minor back noise, but that's fine. While we're doing other things, it shouldn't be too noticeable. We'll try and fix that later if we can. But it's all good. All right.
Okay.
Cool. So you said you've changed a few of your hotkeys?
I think the only one I've changed is the F2. I'm using F1, F2, F3, F4 for camera locations.
And did you put that on a new key, the select all army, or?
No. If I use it, I'd click the icon.
Awesome. That's good. It's a really useful key. It's just one of those things which people are stupid. All of us are stupid and we overuse it. So it's actually, I would say for most people, way better to have it this way, where we just take away the attraction, take away the opportunity.
Yeah. No, that's one particular sort of thing I've never really struggled with. The select all army.
And so let's go through these control groups and list out exactly what you normally put on those.
Okay, so I put main army.
Beautiful.
And then number 2 is just kind of usually Templars, but can be like, it's just a secondary thing that I use. Like,
yeah, just call that secondary army then, I guess. Like we can, I imagine that's usually a splash damage, something like Disruptors or High Templar, I imagine. But maybe it would be Phoenix if in the early game, if you've got Phoenix harassing,
right? It could be Phoenix, it could be Oracles. So yeah, in the early game. And then I think I might need to change this. But anyway, so 3 is Robo. 4 is Stargate. 5 Nexus. 7 Prism. And then 6 is rarely used, but I'll put like, if I have like fended off some mutas with 8 Phoenix and they're kind of just there, like let's just say army, but like, or a run by if I want to
So we could, okay. So it's like a
tertiary.
third army group almost. Like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
a backup army key.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So you know
8, 9,
what?
and 10
Let's
I
like
don't use. Yeah.
let's actually call that third army group. Let's call that what I like to call that, and you tell me if this makes sense. It's the drop defense / run by a squad. So sometimes it's the guys in your main defending the Liberator, the 4 Stalkers defending a Widowmine drop or whatever.
Yeah.
Other times it's 10 Zealots that we're sending to attack their 4th while we attack the front.
Right.
You know, so it can kind of vary a bit, which can be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, that's a pretty good setup. Do you actually reach all the way over to 7 to touch the prism?
I've gotten quite used to it now.
Okay.
It's not ideal for like I basically never do any fancy prism micro. I can't do it. I don't know how. So
If you're doing fancy prism micro, honestly, it should usually be in the early game anyway, where it's on your second army hotkey, basically, because you've got nothing but a basic army and the prism on number 2.
Right.
So does your prism ever go on number 2 in the early game? I see here it's on number
has-
2, so it looks like it.
Yeah, it's done sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, so here's options. I'm not going to tell you to do this because I think your system's okay, even though we could definitely use one more army key. You're doing way better than many GM Protoss players in terms of accessible army groups. But some accessible keys is we can remap to caps lock and tilde. So you see those 2 keys? Tilde is the key. They're both really kind of right there on the left-hand side of the keyboard. They're not used for anything at all. So they're just really, really bloody nice in terms of, you know, I want an extra army key. I want something specifically for my oracles to cast Revelation in the Mega Late game or something, or, you know, whatever the hell the thing is. It can be nice. I think, honestly, though, in general, the most important is to have 3 army groups that you're good at using. Main army plus splash damage. And people go, what if I have High Templars and Disruptors? Don't use both of those. It's too complicated. Just use one. And then have the third key for defending drops or potentially doing your own run-bys, which is what you've got. And as long as you can use those 3 control groups pretty well, that's like the most important thing. You know, that's really, really, that's so much of your power as a player. So that's really useful. You don't control group your gateways at all, do you?
No.
Okay, so that's kind of bad for the early game. It's a bad habit a lot of players have. It's really low on the priority list because, of course, there is that, you know, W hotkey. You know, I am a big fan of, I guess below this whole mechanics section, let's just write possible, you know, recommendations. So these are recommendations which I like, but they're very minor. Okay, so these are not things you need to do. So you could, number 1, we can remap, you know, 0 and 9 or something to caps lock and tilde. We can remap 8 to W and manually control group our gateways for easier use in early game and proxy / cheese scenarios. So one of the things I notice is players who don't control group their gateways in any cheesy scenario, they're going and clicking their gateways to build units. And it kind of makes me vomit into my mouth a little bit because I'm like, you're defending a cheese. You got to be like really on point with all the micro and stuff. I can't believe we have to click on a building to build stuff. So for me, I'm kind of like, that's, you know, obviously they used to not have the hotkey in place. So for me, I never fell into the bad habit, and it does take effort to get over it. Outside of those cheesy scenarios, it's not that big a deal. So you could just as easily say, once I realize it's a cheesy scenario, or in the early game, I always put my gateways on 6 or 7 or something, you know, or like at the start of the game.
Because it's the Stargate's not there yet. Or,
You could do something like that, right? Alternately put gateways on 4 for early game as standard. So that's something. That's the only real situation is the early game. Sometimes when you're doing weird proxies, you delay warp gate for like till the 8-minute mark or something, you know, and you're still building units in this crazy cheesy scenario. Those are the times where it matters. Overall, pretty small though. What about control group stealing, the alt keys? Do you use those?
I have watched that video, but I still don't use it. I've used it actually a few times. I'm not quite sure still what it is. Like I use sometimes if I accidentally put all my Templars in with my main army, then I use Control Shift and then click the Templars, and then they all.
That's not control group stealing. So that's Control Shift. So that is basically so Control click is like double clicking a unit. Do you ever do you control click things?
Yes.
Yeah. So it just selects all of that unit type on a screen, right? So Shift is your selection modifier, right? So if you shift click, it adds or it removes from your selection. So if it's already in your selection, it removes. If it's not, it adds, right? So Control Shift is literally just I want to use the selection modifier while also selecting all of a unit type. So Control Shift, it's just I'll take all this out of my selection. So what you could do instead of that, say you got all the High Templar in your army accidentally, and you're like, I got to get rid of these. Yeah. You could just control click on the High Templar, and then you could go Alt 2, and it would just put them on control group 2, and it would also remove them from control group 1. So that's what the stealing is.
That's what that is. Yeah. Okay, I remember now. He did do a good job of explaining it, but I couldn't quite figure out. That's a good idea. So just stick them on 2, and then when you steal. You can like add them to.
You can add them to an existing group, so you could go Alt Shift 2 to add them to that. And then or Alt would just create a new one. Yeah. Now, I actually use a system where I was like, this is a great mechanic. I got to get used to using this, and I just never found myself using it. I just would always forget. And at a certain point, I went, it's a year into Legacy, and I'm still not using this new mechanic, which should be a game changer. What am I going to do? And I went, you know what? I'm just going to replace my normal keys. So I always steal units. So what I mean by that is literally I just took the Alt button and I put it on Control. So my Control plus a number is the same as what Alt plus a number does by default. So if I box a Phoenix here and I go Control 2, they will be stolen off Control Group 1. So I don't ever need to press Alt because I found Alt a bit awkward to press.
Okay. Yeah.
And that way I'm just like, okay, cool. It's just like basically every time I'm doing it. Now, what's the downside of that? If you accidentally put your production on a hotkey, so you accidentally add your robo to your army hotkey, well, guess what? It's not on the robo hotkey anymore. So you're hitting your robo key and going, why is it not on there? What happened? The other problem is you can't have overlapping control groups. So what I mean by that is you can't have, say, some people like to have this High Templar on 1, but with their main army, but then also on 2 separately. And you can't do that because with my setup, well, guess what? Every time you put them on a control group, you're removing them from any other control group, which I was fine with because I don't like having overlapping units anyway.
I don't like it either, but it happens all the time. It's like I know I shouldn't do it, but it's tempting, especially when all the sentries are dead anyway, to just put all the Templars in there because it makes life easier and you don't have to. You know what's a good behind in the middle of the map and stuff.
What's a good tip for that? Because honestly, that does ruin your muscle memory though. Like when you come to throwing storms in combat, it's on a different key, so you'll actually just be worse at landing storms. But the leaving your army behind, it's a big one. It happens to all of us. Just right click your number 2 group on one of the unit, like an Immortal or an Archon in your main army, so they follow it. Yeah. That's a really good thing, which I've started trying to use a little bit more, just because every now and then, especially when the game's chaotic, you're gonna miss things like that. You will make little mistakes. So it's good to be a bit more prepared for it. So I really like that.
I think I also, this is just something to be aware of for me, but I click too much. I like useless action. I have like bad habits of like if I move across the map with my main army, I might like Control 1 it like compulsively 5 times on the way over. You know what I mean? Just because I see the army, I box it, I Control 1 just to make sure all the units are in there, but they are in there anyway, and it just makes for a misclick.
And just doing some redundant actions sometimes, right?
A lot of redundant actions, yeah.
It's funny, right? Because there's 2 types of StarCraft players. There's the ones who spam too much like you, and then there's the ones who they're so afraid of ever doing a useless click. They don't want to be that dummy who clicks too fast. And I'm like, fucking hell, you need to learn how to click faster. Like, you're actually just so slow. Like, you know, so
Right, yeah.
there's two sides of the same coin there, where it's like one person is really efficient, and sometimes they're actually being way more efficient with your actions. But at the same time, sometimes they're not improving the speed at which they play. And I always say organized urgency, which is like, be fast and try to be quick, have that urgency, but just try to always add some organization to it. You know, when you realize you're just doing useless clicks, you know, try to develop a system to fight that urge, and try to think about, you know, how you're just doing that as you're moving across the map, and say, what should I actually be thinking about? You know, I should be sending a zealot out to the watchtower. I should send the observer ahead, make sure my prism's in position, add another pylon, you know, like focus on those more important details.
Right. Yeah, I think just being conscious.
Yeah. It's easy to just get distracted.
I'm playing. Yeah, the adrenaline. I heard you talk about adrenaline in another coaching session you had, and it's definitely true. At some stage, it just kind of kicks in, and then it's very hard to think about strategy and what he's going and what I should do to counter it, and I'm just basically sort of frantically clicking around and trying to.
Exactly.
And if I do something like put all my Templar in the wrong, it takes a while to undo that, and then all thoughts of like whether I should start +2 armor or +3 attack, like that, it just doesn't, you know, there's no real thought going on. Anyway, it's all
well, I mean, it's an overwhelming game, right? And it's good to have the ability to embrace that and go, let's play fast and let's try to play to the speed of the game. But it's just like, you know, there's so much of trying to program yourself, right? Like you kind of have to be a computer in StarCraft, where I'm not saying you need to be emotionless and unfeeling, but you need to have scripts, right? You need to be like running a program for a certain situation.
Exactly.
So, you know, people are like, I was so frantic. Man, I got supply blocked for a minute while I was control grouping my army compulsively and just staring at it. I need to just remember to build pylons. And it's like, I always say that's the most shallow way of looking at a problem. Like, yeah, you've identified the symptom, but try to always go a little bit deeper and go, okay, cool. Like, yes, like I was getting supply blocked and not focusing on the right things. But why? Like, let's go back a little bit. Like, what's going on in this game? And it's like, well, you know, this guy went surprise. He went 2-star Phoenix in PvP, and I've never played against that. And I kept losing probes, and then I left 3 stalkers in my main, but then he just picked up the stalkers and killed them, and then I was super tilted and blah blah. Like, there's usually some sort of spiral of like us encountering a situation that we don't know how to deal with, so we're trying to make some shit up, and it's like always a bit off, you know, because it's our first time making it up, and that like it spirals over time, so the mistakes get bigger and bigger, and we find ourselves in more and more of a confusing situation in the game. So it's like, I always say, like, go back to the first thing that went wrong there, and let's try and come up with a plan. It doesn't need to be a perfect plan we're 100% confident in, but as long as it's a plan we feel we can follow, so it gives us some sort of confidence the next time we're in that situation, some sort of path we can follow, we're going to still be playing good StarCraft because we're focused, right? The moment you don't know what you're doing and your arms are flailing around and you're, what the fuck do I do here? That's where your basics fall apart as well. Like, you can win games not really knowing how to deal with what your opponent's doing, as long as your basics hold up under pressure. And that's where programming ourselves to say, next time I see this, remember to just build a cannon in each mineral line and then go back to my normal build, you know? And that gives you the confidence to just focus on your basics.
That makes so much sense. I think, it's perfect. I need to find sort of techniques to overcome that kind of arm flailing state, because it's not going to just go away by saying I need to focus. Like, you got a way to do it. Exactly.
So just, I mean, since it's such an important point, I guess I'll just write some notes here. Basically, so my method for that, which I'd like you to apply to all situations, is basically reaction lists. So it's like these little mini scripts of just how to deal with a situation. So this is like, you can have your normal build, and within that build, there's infinite branches. There's infinite little reactions off things. But often we want to branch off with a reaction and then come back to our normal build plan and still keep doing things in the same order. This is why we don't memorize things in terms of exact seconds. We don't go, second gateway goes down at 3 minutes 41 necessarily. It's more, once we start our DT shrine, drop 3 more gateways or something like that, right? Like it's in order so that we can be flexible and adapt it. So we could, he did an early pool. I had to build a second gateway in my wall, Chrono, a Zealot, and an Adept. My Nexus is later. Everything's off a little bit, but then I just go back to the normal order and I can find that. So reaction list is kind of like, what you want to do is you first of all, I guess I should make this a numbered list. So it's like identify the problem, okay? So basically figure out what the problem is. Maybe it could be, like I said, I'm uncomfortable against Phoenix Harass. It could be, this guy cheesed me with a 4-minute Ravager Ling Rush. Okay, like, so identify the problem, understand it. So go watch it from their point of view a little bit, understand exactly what they're committing to it. Then what are the tells? How can you scout this with your normal, hopefully with your normal scouting information? There's some way you can tell what's happening. And then 3, what is the response? And that obviously you want as many details as possible, because like often it'll be something like, build a shield battery and Chrono 2 Stalkers to deal with this like little concussive shell marauder. But then the next note is build a pylon immediately, because I always get supply blocked while I'm doing that, and Chrono probes once I've started those 2 Stalkers, because I tunnel vision too much on defending the front. So you kind of just like, you add like little reminders of that. We're like, because I'm building more units than normal, I actually need the pylon earlier, because these like 2 or 3 Stalkers chew up 6 supply. So I actually need to build 1 extra pylon. There's just like little adjustments that we need to take into account. So as long as you come up with a little set play, the idea is once you understand, this takes you through multiple problems. Number 1, actually understanding what's happening. 90% of players who ask me advice in Twitch chat say, I died to a X thing. And I'm like, it's an immortal push. That's all they've said. And I'm like, is it 1 base, 2 base, 3 base? Is it hitting you at 3 minutes, 7 minutes, 9 minutes? Like these are all completely different things. And I know that because the player hasn't said that, they haven't even gone through the step 1 of identifying the problem. They don't actually know what they just died to, right? People go, oh yeah, dude, I died to Immortals and Sentries. I go, you got no fucking clue what that is until you've actually gone through step 1. Identify the problem. And that's good. Takes a lot of the mystery out of ladder. And it's a lot harder to be an angry rager when you actually sit there and watch from your opponent's point of view replays where you really get thrown off and you understand, his strategic goal was this. This is another player who has a pre-planned build. He's put time and effort into practicing this. Okay, now I understand what it is. Now I understand how to spot it. Let's come up with a reaction list. Sweet. Next time I see it, I'm going to pull that reaction list out. I'm still going to fuck it up because it's my first time doing it. But the time after that or the time after that, it's just going to get like incrementally way better each time. And there's always that cool thing that there's heaps of room for error in StarCraft, right? Even at top level, we see crazy comebacks a lot these days. So that is just like anytime you notice yourself feeling uncomfortable in a game, you felt a bit confused or lost about a scenario, that's a problem. Let's do this. Identify the problem. What are the tells? Sometimes it's literally, I don't know what to do in late game versus Terran. So it's not really a tell. It's let's just come up with a plan for that situation, right? Always making sure we've got some plan, something we can put into action, and you play 10 times better when you know what your goal is in the game. And this goes for non-real-time strategy games as well. I see people play turn-based strategy, and if they have got a goal in mind, they always just like put everything together so much better. It's really fascinating to watch. Like if you watch like a high level Civilization player or something like on YouTube or anything, talking through their thought process, you're like, oh shit, he's actually like factoring in so many things and he's heading for things, and he's always like looking way into the future at shit where he doesn't know he can get that goal, and it might not even be the best goal, but it just means they're like taking things into account a bit better. So
it's like chess, and any plan is better than no plan, they say.
Yes, there is a lot of wisdom in chess. That is a game where you could see everything. So it's always good to have some goal in mind. The moment you start just treading water, well, you better
Yeah,
be the god
you're
of that
gonna-
game. If you're just standing there, just sitting still,
doing
waiting for your opponent to
nothing,
do
just
stuff.
making random kind of good-looking moves, then yeah. Just
Right?
no way.
If you're the best at the game, that's great. If you're doing a training session, that's not bad for a training session. If you actually want to win the game, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah. No, I noticed. I like the 4DTs because it puts a little bit of like the Oracle to me Oracle openers feels a little bit more like the treading water chess strategy because they'll have spores and maybe I get 2 or 3 drones. Like my Oracle control isn't good, and then I'll have them, and then they can be useful later in the game for sure. I'll some stasis traps and revelations and stuff, but it just feels like everything else gets delayed by too much, and I never put any real pressure on them to. They just get to do whatever they want, and then I get swamped by units, and my stuff is just too late.
Yeah, I mean, let's I think maybe we should just wrap up the mechanics before we go too deep on the matchup stuff, because I think that's really good stuff. Sure. But I'm like, if I start answering this, I'm going to completely lose the thread and talk about that for far too long.
Just an aside as to that kind of theory of having a plan. But anyway.
No, that's absolutely spot on. So with the control group stealing, so did you want to use that by default like I do? Do you want to give that one a go? Just swap it to the defaults?
Let's try that.
All right, let's do that right now. It's very simple to set up. So F10, and we can just pause the replay so it's less distracting. Options.
Here we are. Okay.
Hotkeys.
Let's see. Options, hotkeys. Yeah.
Global. Actually, first click Unbound. I want to just see. Is there any Unbound stuff for you?
Unbound. Fusion core.
Doesn't matter.
Station pit. Doesn't matter. Unit management. Select army units.
That's your F2 key? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have your idle worker key?
No.
You're Protoss, so it's not as big a deal. Do you know that you know about the button?
Well, I can imagine what it does. It selects your idle workers.
Yeah, so you can control click it, and it'll select all your idle workers. So that's just, it's more useful for Terran players who end up with idle workers. If you're really good at moving your workers to new bases, you don't need to use it so much. You can just use the button above the minimap. So that should be fine. Because that by default is on F1.
Yeah,
I think it's on F1. I'm not sure.
That one either, actually. But
yeah.
That's probably something I should look at.
Well, if you're finding yourself in a lot of late games with 15 idle probes, and because there's like, it hovers on the left-hand side of the map, just above the mini-map, it'll show you the number of idle workers will pop up. You can just control click. Actually, maybe you can even control click on that. Does it show up on there? Maybe it shows up on the button itself above the minimap. Sorry, I'm on the Game Heart overlay, so I'm trying to remember what it looks like on the normal overlay. There's a button just above the minimap next to your warp gate button. There's a warp gate button, an idle worker button, and a select all army button. And so you can just control click that, I'm pretty sure, and that'll grab them all. Anyways, anything else Unbound there?
No, that's it.
Okay, cool. Let's go global control groups. Now, we are going to make a lot of this menu red. There's going to be nothing bound when we try this. And so go down to, so it just says like select control group is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to go right down to create control group and take away unit. So this is your stealing keys. And is that Alt +1?
Alt 1, yeah.
So we're going to change that to control +1. So we're overriding our normal keys with this. So we're going to go, okay, you can be Alt +1, control +1, control +2, control +3, etc., etc.
Control 2, God. Okay, control 3. Yeah, there we go.
So once you've done those 10,
control. Wait, am I doing it wrong?
It should just be for those first 10. So this is create control group 1 and take away units. Should be control 1 through to control 0.
Yeah, I'm doing it now.
Beautiful.
My keyboard is a little.
Sometimes you miss time hitting them at the same time, and you need to do it again. So
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
It just takes a little bit of practice because you're used to you're kind of going press one, press the other, and it's like no, you got to press them at the same time.
Okay. All right, we've done that now.
Okay, so we need to scroll down to the next one, which is add to control 1 and take away units. So that should say Alt Shift 1. We want it to just be Shift 1.
Uh-huh.
And change all of those. Just Shift 1, Shift 2, Shift 3.
Shift 1, Shift 2. Yeah.
Someone in chat earlier was asking, is there a way to remove right-clicking control groups to replace them? It's the most useless, hindering, error-prone shit in the game. Well, you guys would see every day when I set up in-game, I do two things. One, which I've just started, which is get rid of enable simple command card because it's a piece of shit. And the other one is, just make sure your control groups are unclickable. I only put it on clickable so I can, when I'm coaching or casting, click on people's control groups to zoom to them and to check what they have on those control groups. But you should always play with unclickable control groups. The whole point of control groups is to use your keyboard, not to click on the bottom of your screen to select things. I didn't even know right-click replaced that. That's some crazy shit. So hopefully that helps you, Balium. Cool. Did we get all 10 of those ones?
Yeah. No, they're good.
Okay. So basically, if you scroll up now, you're going to see all of add to control group is red and unbound, and all of the create control group is red and unbound now, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's try saving that.
Okay.
And just check your unbounds at the end once you've saved it to make sure you didn't change anything weird that we like. Every now and then we accidentally remove like left click or something like that.
Active profile updated. Okay. And then we check the unbound ones. And yeah, it's only those 20 that I just did.
Fantastic.
Plus the other one. Yeah.
Always good to check that. I love when people do this and then they've removed the ability to select things. So literally their selection, their left click doesn't work. And they're like, it broke my game. I tried to do it, Pig, and it broke my game. And I can't click on things anymore. I'm like, yeah, okay. That's like, this is a pretty easy fix. You literally just removed your ability to select things. It's fine. Yeah.
There's one other one now. It's got display game tooltips, but that's not.
I don't think that matters. Yeah, I don't know.
No,
I didn't even know there was a hotkey for display game tooltips.
UL.
While we're here, actually, let's go over some other fundamentals. So that's cool that that's set up. Go into your gameplay menu.
Okay.
So top left. Just read down the list. Tell me what you actually have ticked.
I have show alerts. I have display build grid. I have always show worker status.
What about show alerts? So do you actually use those alerts on the left-hand side? I find them annoying.
I couldn't tell you, honestly. I probably
try turning it off and just see. It might, if it messes with your play, you can always turn it back on.
Yeah.
No high-level players play with it on, like no pro gamers. So try turning it off and give it a go.
Yeah. By the way, unrelated question, kind of. The space bar. I think I use the space bar too much. I think I click it all the time without even knowing that I do it. Like,
did you play Warcraft 3?
Early game. Yeah. I mean, maybe more Brood War.
Okay.
I played Warcraft 3, but not like to any.
And you're using that just to jump to the recent alert, right? Like a unit that's just popped out or something.
Like, yeah. Usually it just takes me like I should probably use F1 because what I think I want to do is go to my main base because that's usually where the alerts happen. Or like it just takes me.
Let's go in and remove that. That's actually the worst thing ever. I've literally just added it at the top of recommendations in caps. Exorcise the spacebar key. Get rid of that shit. Let's get rid of that right now. That's camera, right? I think that's in camera.
Okay, let's have a look. That's in global, right? Yeah. So camera, spacebar.
Maybe not camera. Actually, it could be. No. Jump to last alert under unit management. It's third from the top in unit management. So
it's not on camera, unit management.
Yeah.
There it is.
Just get rid of it.
Yeah. Just
Yeah, in War, I remember
Oh.
using that a lot in Warcraft 3, because in Warcraft 3 you'd build like 7 units over a half hour game. So, you know, it was actually reliable what you were going to jump to. There's too much
Right,
happening in StarCraft. It's like people are like, oh yeah, I want to
you're
go to
just
my.
jumping all over the place.
It's like, oh, I want to go to my immortal that just popped. It's like, no, you've got 3 Nexus building probes. There's a probe popping every 2 seconds. It's going to jump to a random Nexus. Like, come on, there's too many things building, right? So that's one of the worst keys. A lot of players have that habit, I think, from older RTS games when things are a bit slower paced, but you can't really use that. So that's really good you mentioned that. That's a very important thing to pick up on.
Right. Good. Save that.
Yes. Okay, so gameplay menu. Let's go back to the gameplay menu.
Yeah, show alerts is taken off. Okay, enable simple command card.
I would turn that.
on.
Good.
Yeah. Show current order indicator. I don't have that. Select or larva.
Turn that on. Turn show current order indicator on.
Oh.
That's good for replay analysis mostly. So it basically just gives a little marker on the ground of where you've told your units to attack. So when you have something selected, if you've right-clicked it somewhere, you can see a little green circle on the ground where it's been told to move, or a red circle where it's been told to attack move. Also makes it a little bit easier to see if you try to A-move, you accidentally A-click on a Colossus, for instance, because you're going to see a big red circle around that Colossus, like around its base, because you've accidentally told your whole army to attack the Colossus, not attack move kind of thing. It's not the most important thing, but it's really nice in replays where you go, why the fuck did my army do this stupid thing? And then you slow-mo that replay, you have your army selected, and you go, oh, at this point, I accidentally clicked on the hatchery with my A-click.
Right.
Oh shit. You know, like it's mostly for replay analysis, but it's kind of nice. It also, when you queue up a probe's movement paths, you can easily see where it's told to move. It's not the biggest thing, but select all lava we don't care about. You're not Zerg, but I have that turned off anyway. Enable enemy unit selection, display experience points. Those should both be turned on.
Yeah, they are on.
Beautiful.
Yes.
On the right hand side, unit life bars always.
Yep.
Control group should be unclickable.
Yep.
And flyer helper always.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right, let's go mouse and keyboard now. Okay, so mouse scroll speed. What's that at?
Got it at 60.
Okay, that's fine. As long as it's above 50%, I'm usually okay. Maru uses 40%, so woe behold me who thinks that's too slow. Apparently, Maru is okay with it.
I think I saw a first person of Cyril just recently streaming, and I'm not 100% sure this is what happened, but I think he played like 12 minutes of a game without having his mouse scroll on, and then he just noticed. He paused it and went out and just did something, and then he could scroll all of a sudden, which is crazy to me because
he does drag scrolling a lot of the time. So it's like so he actually does most of his scrolling with that, but I think he likes to do a mix. So he must have got it to a point where he does so little edge scrolling that he didn't even notice. That's crazy.
That's fascinating. Yeah, because I do it all the time and I waste so much time doing it. I'm like trying to use the camera location keys and like double clicking hotkeys to get to places, but it just doesn't work. Whenever my kind of autopilot kicks in, I just start scrolling.
That's definitely something where bouncing between the bases, being disciplined with that, like with the macro. When I see someone macro scrolling like between their main, their natural, their third, I'm like, okay, what are we doing? When you're fighting a big fight out on the map, I think scrolling is totally natural, and I would argue it's just as good as scrolling. This scrolling, which Cyril and a few of the pros are really thinking is better right now, and I think Scarlet's even started using it. Obviously you can watch the video with did you watch the video or the in-depth mechanics episode by any chance? Scarlet went over like all these different mechanics and stuff, and they were talking about the different techniques pros use. I
think I saw that it was there, but I didn't watch it. No,
I didn't watch the whole thing either, but I know a lot of people learnt a few things from that, so it's kind of cool to have some up-to-date info there. It's not the most important, but good info, I guess.
Cool.
Okay, cool. I mean, so you've got that. Did you go through the mouse and keyboard? Are you on Windows?
I'm here now.
Are you on a Windows PC? Yeah.
I'm on the Windows. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. So just go to control panel. So just search control panel. And once you're in there, I want you to find change mouse settings. So search for mouse in the control panel and then search for keyboard.
I did this. I'm actually on a different computer because I'm at my friend's place now.
Fix his computer for him.
No, it's like a small one that I bought. So I'm trying to get it to work just as my main one at home. But
okay, cool.
I did the thing that you said recently. Wait, where's the mouse? There's so many things there.
Yeah, it should be, and then you should find a mouse properties menu.
The pointer option, the enhanced pointer precision, that had been on for me the whole time.
For most people.
I recently just took it away.
Okay.
And now it's not on here either.
Cool.
So what does it actually do? Because I noticed a difference, but I didn't. It was almost like the mouse was a bit slower.
Yeah, so what that does, it's called enhanced pointer precision. It does the opposite. It basically, it's acceleration. Basically, as you move the mouse, it starts skipping pixels. So it'll go from moving 1 pixel to 2 to 4 to 8. So as you move it, it just...
steady.
Yeah, so when you remove that, it's much steadier. Yeah, so it's always going to be the same movement of your hand or your forearm equals the same mouse movement on the screen. So you can develop muscle memory. I used to play with that turned on as well. I used to play with much higher DPI, and I tell you, I had some of the best micro ever, 1 in 5 engagements when I didn't misclick everything. I could do so much so fast with that mouse cursor moving so quick, and half the time, it was me spending 90% of my APM in a battle fixing my previous mistakes in the same battle. Like, it was just so inconsistent.
Sounds familiar. Okay, cool.
And you did the keyboard as well, the repeat delay and the repeat rate?
Yes, I did that too.
Okay, shortest and fastest possible. Cool.
Let me just double check that it's like that on this one too.
So,
but it should be because
I always love that there's even a box in there where you can test it because people are like, what does this do? It's like, well, there's literally click here and hold down a key. This is you building zealots or zerglings. Just hold down that Z, and it's like you change the setting to the other side, and then you're like, let's see me rapid firing zealots. And you're like. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. It takes me like 8 seconds to warp in 8 zealots or something. It's so slow.
Yeah. Okay, so repeat delay is shortest.
Yeah.
No, long.
Shortest. Both on the far right hand side. So by default, it's like it's 1 bar off by default.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Speaking of which, have you set up rapid fire warpins?
No.
All right. Let's do that too. All right. So this one I will let you set up on your own, but do it right after we're done, okay? So rapid fire warpins and rapid fire warpins, the best way and why my old video is bad. Oh, I've never seen that. I'll have to watch that. That's from Gemini though, so maybe he did a shitty video the first time. So anyway, we've got video number 1. Should I just I just linked it in chat. That's not to you. There we go. Okay, rapid fire warpins. And this is a game changer. It's a game changer. So there's the first video I just linked you. Multiple rapid fire keys, jack attack. Let's see how to bind multiple rapid fire keys, which is the more important one. And that can also go there. So the 2 videos are in your recommendations section of your document. Do you see where I linked that? Just below all these mechanics I've been writing down. Yeah. So I'll put that in chat as well in case anyone wants to do it. Okay. I actually still haven't set it up with some of my units. Like High Templar, I like to manually warp them in to make sure I always warp in an even number so that I can make Archons. Probably it would be better if I just hold it down and just make it rapid fire, but whatever. I do it my own way.
Right.
But like Adepts, Zealots, etc., I'm just like, print them out, make them all at once.
Yeah.
I think Stalkers I actually don't have on rapid fire. Or maybe I do, but I just forget to use it. I don't know. Anyways, I don't mass warp
is the main thing, I guess, because that's when you don't have any time. You're trying to do a million things at once, and you're trying to do a run by or whatever.
Exactly. So, I mean, this is going to be cool. with these changes, getting rid of the spacebar key, well, we've removed the temptation. That shouldn't be too hard, right? Rapid fire warp-ins, it's going to be really easy. Once you spend the 10-15 minutes just going into your text file and changing the key, you'll be fine. Like, this will be easy. Just hold down a key. So these are all relatively easy mechanical changes. Control group stealing by default is something we've put on now. You don't need to use new keys. All you need to be aware of is, calm play, don't fat finger stuff, right? You're going to get punished with that if you start fat fingering and panic thing. So this, in a way, it's bad because of that, but it's also good because it's going to immediately tell you when you're just fat fingering things and panicking, because you're going to have to go back and fix those mistakes. And it's going to go, okay, take a deep breath. There's no reason for us to be fat fingering this stuff, and almost like you messing your control groups up with that is actually going to be a tell to say, let's take a deep breath and, slow down a little bit and be more organized. Sorry, we are running low on time. Where are we? How much time do we have left? I want to make sure we cover the most important things that we can.
We're there now. It's midnight here.
We started a little bit late though, so
sure. Yeah.
Is it midnight? Isn't it 11 there? Aren't you in the UK?
No, I'm in Norway right now. Actually,
Oh, okay. No worries. Okay.
Going back home to family. Yeah.
Okay. No
I
worries.
was sat alone playing StarCraft in my flat for 2.5 months, and I had enough.
Yeah, you felt like seeing some other humans. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Good, man. Glad you're getting a bit of that interaction. Okay, so we've talked through a lot of mechanical things here. Let's make sure I didn't forget anything. So just reviewing that list of mechanical questions. Do you use the shift deselection to like put workers back on gas quickly and that sort of stuff?
Yes. Yeah, usually the take away the 3 and do the thing. Yeah.
Yes, exactly
what
that.
you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you use that to like send zealot scouts out sometimes from your army group? Like no. To a watchtower?
I know that I can, but I don't do it.
You're a Protoss player. It's not as important as the other races. I'm not going to harp on about it at all. Maybe at some point we'll talk about it more. Don't care for now. Don't care. We've talked about many more important things, so I don't give a shit. If you're a Zerg, you got to do that because you got 25 mineral, fastest unit in the game. You don't want to be throwing zealots away constantly as spotter units, and you've got things like observers and oracles to do that job for you. So it's really not as important, Where if you were a Zerg player, I'd be like, fix it, do it now. Why are you blind on the map? This is so inexcusable as a Zerg. As a Protoss, it's like, it's fine. So, okay, that's cool. I think mechanically, overall, looks like most of what you're doing is fine. I guess I can write some kind of conscious changes in terms of like conscious focus on, in terms of mechanics, using camera locations, double tapping control groups. These are the things you already mentioned you were doing, but we're just trying to make sure we remember that's a focus. Double tapping control groups. Not scrolling through macro as much, like that sort of stuff. When we're in a redundant APM spam cycle, remember, higher priorities, basically. Don't be like, don't do that. Instead, try to replace. Don't just say, don't do that thing. Instead, say, let's do this other thing instead, right? Let's focus on this thing that's really important. And that'll be really nice. I think that's really big. So I think one of the big things you can do as a player is those notes I put before, further down. If you scroll down, you can go through each matchup and you can start at the most basic level. Just write out, I'm going Immortal Chargelet Archon in PVZ as your composition. And we can steadily fill these out, right? As we go through the coaching sessions. But something you can do is just try to be a little bit more focused on kind of what, down the bottom, you've got like, you'd already written, okay, you do a 4D T drop into a third base, right? And then we can add some transition notes. We can add details. We can talk about problems. There's ways we can work through it. But I think we're just going to try and follow that define and refine rule, right? So it's very hard to solve problems as a player without first identifying what your progression normally is. So if you can try to just kind of be a little bit more detailed in the follow-up to the opening, which is the point where most players get really vague in terms of what they're doing. Like after the first Archon drop hits, That's where players kind of fall apart. We talked about how I was like, try to always get the second robo and the forge up, you know, and build immortals to try to make sure you've got that defense for the roach attack you'd been dealing with. So try to keep working on that next step and just like analyzing your replays around this point and going, okay, let's pay attention to the details. So like one thing here is we're a bit slow to get the pylons on the third base. And because of that, we can't warp in those sentries right now, which we would love to be doing. So one of the things is it's really nice to be able to go, okay, like second robo, forge, start charge, warp in a couple sentries, even if it's just 2 and some zealots. And we do finally get to do those now. You see you go 4 sentries, which is great. Obviously, your DT drop's getting a lot of damage. And then you do start an immortal. You've already got the observer very early, which is very good. But we're very slow to probe our third base as well. Right? There's no probing happening through here.
And I picked this one because it's like, you can see that things are going really well, but I somehow find a way to lose this game from here. Which, you know.
So you killed the third base, and then you kept staring at your warp prism. So this is what we call getting a boner. So you're already so far ahead. You literally didn't just kill a hatchery, you killed the lair and an Evo and a spawning pool. It's game over. And for some reason, you've got your prism queuing into creep. What are we doing with this warp prism? All you need to do now, make immortals, more wind sentries, make some probes, rally them to the third. And you could even literally send that prism home, morph those DTs into Archons, and just sit your army at your natural or your third base. And just like have an observer looking for any roach counter attack or anything. And just like add an upgrade, saturate your third, go up to 8 gateways. Okay, I've got 4 immortals and a prism. Let's go with Archons and just win the game. So like it could be very simple from there, but you've done a huge amount of damage and then you're continuing to distract yourself. Your prism keeps flying over creep here. It's low on shields, low on hit points, and we're queuing it into dangerous scenarios. So what you're doing is you're setting yourself up to get distracted from your core most important things, right? So in that scenario, what should we have done? We should have from the start queued it to go, see where I'm signaling? If you go to everyone's camera, we should have just done that, right?
My hands are shaking. My hands are shaking, but I'm still.
Or just told it to unload in the middle of the map, and we should have morphed Archons. I would argue we should have just made Archons straight away. Now maybe you're saying I killed the lair, I want to do that, but the idea here was just to be a bit more clear in the follow-up. And the thing is, if I look at this game, it felt like you had no clear timing attack that you were following it up with. So outside of all the intricate details, I think choosing some sort of like mid-game timing, or even if you've got 3 bases of work is where you know you're going to attack so you can build towards it, it'd probably give you more direction here.
Yeah, I'm somehow aware that I'm supposed to just go and kill him. Just get my third up, get more gates. But I just don't execute it well enough, and
it's not detailed.
like you
so
said.
you went 6 sentries here. Why are we building 6 sentries? So if you're going for a timing
why am I
attack
building 2
right
shield
now, and then you're building shield batteries as well, right? So the thing is, it's just not defined. So, like I said, there's a lot of details. I could go through and define your macro transition for you in a lot of detail and make this way better. Easy way for you to solve it. Do this for every matchup. Go through and say, as standard, no matter what happens to the Archon drop, I am going to go, here's an example, saturate the third mineral line while doing all your normal things. Make some immortals, make +1. 4 immortals, 8 gateways, don't bother with the gases on the third, or maybe you do take them so you can make more Archons, who knows. And then you're going to push out with 4 immortals, your 8 or 9 gateways, a couple sentries, morph a few more Archons, make some zealots, and you're going to try and kill them with that attack. And that's really simple, and it seems really one-dimensional. Guess what? It means you'll kill someone as their mutas are coming across the map, so you don't have to deal with that. Awesome. It means if they're behind from your DT drop, this guy was infinitely behind, you're just going to win the game. You're going to have more stuff. It means also you've got a nice push you can benchmark, which is great. And the thing is, you start out with a really simple push like that, define it, go execute, kick ass. And then how do you turn that into a better? People say, oh, I don't want to just be a dumb player who just attacks with some attack they've defined before the game even started. And I always say, cool. Once you learn how to do a basic attack, then you can go do that, you know? Most people want to go straight to the reactive. Well, you could easily go, that's fine. In this scenario, I'm not going to commit. But because I'm working towards that timing, it's a small adjustment to take the gases on the third, start Storm on my Templar Archives. I'm still going to push out at the same timing, It's just I've got a 4th base going up behind it, and all I'm doing is clearing creep and sending zealot run-bys in, and I don't actually want to push on creep and fight. I'm just going to clear creep, put on pressure, scare them. And what am I doing? I'm getting storm energy, I'm distracting him so my zealot run-bys and my prisms can get in. And it's the same set piece that you can kind of plug into, I'm committing everything to this 3-base timing with no gases on the 3rd, or I'm doing the full macro version. So the important thing there is just to have a strategic edge. Because remember, what did we do in this game? You built a big fucking army. We didn't take gases on our 3rd. We took a long time to build our work account because you were afraid of a roach attack, which never came. Because you're like, I killed his base, he's going to attack me. But instead what we did is we let him get an economic lead over us when we actually didn't need to give any respect to a counterattack at all, because we killed a lair. He couldn't have even had roach speed. So, you know, basically we started building batteries, then cannons, then 2 Stargates, then Phoenix, and essentially we spread out our money into a shitload of defense, which is the batteries and cannons, a shitload of tech, which isn't going to be ready or help us, the Phoenix, and then we end up attacking a few minutes later than we could have with a smaller army than we could have, right? So what's really powerful about this is not me saying, look, you did everything wrong. It's saying, look at how much room we give our opponent to get back in the game if we don't have a clear thing we're building towards, right? So that's going to be huge for you. Just kind of have a clear attack you're going for. And this game here, off that opening you did, easy victory for you.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
And, yeah. Good. Lots of stuff to work on.
So in terms of homework, that recommendations list is the number one thing. What's the other big thing? It's what I just said there, which is choose attack timings for each matchup. I don't care if you're not sure if they're the best idea or not. Choose them, and then what do you do with them? Benchmark them, okay? So sometimes, even if you commit to an attack and it seems a little bit stupid and it doesn't work, and you go, don't do this thing that players do. They go, I did the attack and it didn't work. Oh, it's bad. Go, no, let's just benchmark. Write down the time that I hit, exact unit count I had, and then try to improve on that benchmark, number one. Number two, turns out I walked my whole army through a choke into siege tanks when I could have gone and attacked the 3rd on the other angle, or split up, or sent a prism into the main base at the same time, right? Like there's always infinite ways we can deconstruct it, but what's really good is now you know what you're trying to improve at. Let's make that attack better by hitting faster, by macroing better. Let's make sure my +2 is done, or whatever the details are. And then you can also deconstruct the tactics of how to make those attacks work as well.
Okay, so I'll play some ladder games, and then I'll look at the timings for.
Hells yeah. Yeah, you can just do a rewind. Do you use the rewind button?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be huge. Just make a habit of that and just note down 4 Archons, 15 Zealots, 2 Immortals, whatever. And then you could you could very easily track your progress from that and just get better. So even if whether you win or lose, doesn't matter. Just play against yourself. Even when you're playing ladder, if you can focus your improvement on your own improvement, like it takes the power away from victory or defeat on that screen. It means you're getting better every game, right?
That's good.
Hells yeah. Awesome, man. All right, we got to run. Great first session. Obviously, lots of mechanical stuff, but most will be easy to put into place now that they're set up, which is good. Did you want to book in another session?
No space bar. Yeah.
No worries. Yeah, so